Okay, our next video is actually looking at something called data validation. So remember, we do validation to make sure that we actually get reasonable data coming in. Okay? We want to stop the user from deliberately or accidentally putting the wrong things in. So you remember our spreadsheet from earlier where we had the degrees and we got the salaries. So under the data tab we can actually add some validation. There's an option here called data validation. There's actually a couple of other options, circle invalid data or clear invalid data. What that's to do with is once you've put some validation in and if you already had data in place, you can get it to identify what invalid data you had or something that doesn't agree with your validation rules so that you can fix it up. Okay, but we're actually looking after data validation, so we want to put some data validation in there. Actually I should have selected a cell. Let's cancel that for a second. I'm just out here. What I want to do is in our years, so remember we had formulas that looked up using the values of the years, so we want to make sure that we really have sensible data in there, because if we're going to use a VLOOKUP, we want to make sure that it is actually going to work. So I've highlighted the cells and I'm going to put some data validation in there. So currently it's set that I can put any value in there. I want to make sure that we only use whole numbers. So you can see there's a range of different data validations. I only want whole numbers, and I think, well, obviously 0 is going to be the lowest, and maybe we'll say 50. So you can only have the years of service working from 0 to 50 years. I think that's probably more than enough for working. Okay, now you can have some input messages just to help the person. Say maybe say years of working, and something to help them along. So enter the number something meaningful. So it's just a helpful little message for them. And then also we don't want to just have the Microsoft doesn't have really meaningful error messages, so we might say invalid year as the title, invalid year entered, the year must be a whole number between 0 and 50. Okay, so let's tell them what you want. Okay, so as you can see, whenever you're actually in that any of the fields in there, you actually get a hint of what is needed. Okay, so you can decide whether it's useful. If it's a really obvious one, obviously you wouldn't put a field in there, but it's just to show you what it is. Now, to show you an example, so if I type in an A, obviously that's not a whole number, I get an error message that says it's an invalid year entered, and the year must be a whole number between 0 and 50. Okay, so it tells me what is the problem, which is the error message I put in there. Okay, so I'm going to try it again. Obviously I want to put back to 1. So great way of doing that. The degrees, again the same thing. We only want to use the degrees that we've got over there, so maybe we'll just check against those so we can put some validation in those. So data validation for the degrees, and this is a new one. We want to look at a list of values. Okay, so we want a list, and the source of our list is obviously that one over there. So question is, do we want to have blanks or not? We actually, we'll ignore blanks, but you can actually say you want to make something entered in every time, so you actually have blanks, don't allow blanks. We want our data values, so we want to use the same values that the lookup's going to use. And again, actually I won't put a title, won't put something in that time, but we will put an error message. Okay, so select the value from the drop down list, and as you will see, so obviously we're going to get a drop down list. So if I was to type in, so for there I typed in XXX, I get an error. Okay, so it's telling me, yep, I should be using, oh actually I misspelled list, but anyway, you get the idea. Cancel that, and we're back to that. So I've now got a drop down list. Okay, something to select, so stopping errors there. So validation, easily done, means that you get a really good result because you don't get rubbish data coming in.